Remember this? This is short.
Short, yeah. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Your Lane with Coach Trish Hanna. I am so happy to be in your hearing today, and those who are watching me via Facebook at Your Lane Life Coaching. I am grateful to be tuning. I'm grateful that you are tuning in with me today. We are still under the topic of parenting, and in today's series, episode 4 of Your Lane, we will be discussing the various types of learning challenges among children. We're going to learn about some of the signs, what to look out for during various milestones of a child's life, and of course, as a mother, how to cope with all of this. We're also going to hear from a woman who has experienced challenges as a child and her journey to where she is now and later on. We will also hear from a woman who is presently facing a challenge with finding a school in Freeport for her challenged son. This is a full show today, but you know we got this. Feel free to call in at any point of today's discussion to input or ask a question. But just before I start the show, I just want to make a little announcement. I have been thinking about this for a while, and I want to say that I want to partner with or collaborate with someone who has, I guess, an organization for the less fortunate. If you have an organization that you would like to partner with, and that's with anything pertaining to women, their needs, their feminine needs, clothing, helping out in whatever way, I would like to partner with you. That has been on my mind, that's been on my heart, and I definitely want to go ahead and do that. Now, I can tell you there are some criteria. First of all, your hands and your heart got to be clean and pure. If you know that you are doing this, just for fortune or fame, then it's a no. And of course, if you know that your hand's still shaking when you walk past a cookie jar, meaning you ain't fully delivered and set free, then it's a no. All right. But if you know, my guest laughing. But if you know that you're good, you know that your hands clean, your heart, let's team up. And how you can connect with me, you can email me at coachtrish@yourlanelifecoaching.com, or you can message me on Facebook at Your Lane Life Coaching. Or you can just go on my website, www.yourlanelifecoaching.com, and all of those will have platforms, will give access to you to access me. Okay, so let's get right into it. So today's show is brought to you by Listerine, distributed by Lowe's Wholesale, Airborne Freight and Cargo Services, Calico Bay, Where the Cool Kids Shop, Celestial Treats, John's Shoe Store and Accessories, National Workers Cooperative Credit Union, and Family Medicine Center. Thank you so much for partnering with me with that. My predictions of emotions today for this episode is 90% serious aha moments, 8% laughter, and 2% teardrops. And I think those teardrops will be because some mother may feel a bit of conviction today. I promise you by the end of this show, some conviction coming from somewhere. And that's a good thing, because I believe that means that there'll be a changed mindset. And some child's prayer will be answered for more attention from their parents. You can view us on Facebook on Your Lane Life Coaching page or Star 106 FM's page, or you can listen to us on channel 976 on cable. I have with me in studio today none other than Lernice Williams. Lernice, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And first of all, let me just explain to the audience why you're here. Lernice is here because as I was planning today's show, I remembered her. We grew up together, I think from babies, Pampers. One, she said, like she could remember when we was one. But she was the set where when you just, when them said who's knock on your door, Miss Anderson, Shawnee could come outside to play. She was one of them. All right. There's always one of them to your neighborhood. I know all of you could relate. Some of you can relate maybe. you had that neighbor who always asking, knocking on the door for the other child to come out to play. But she was one of those, and I was also the same. And I remember something about, because parents talk. So I remember, I think it was her mom or her aunt or somebody speaking to my mom about her having to go to another school, something to do with learning challenges or learning something. I never really caught on. I really didn't, it didn't bother me, because all that
Yes.
mattered to me is that, hey, we playing, and that's all. Nothing else
Exactly.
mattered.
Exactly.
So, I remember that, and I was like, when I WhatsApp her, I messaged her. I said, hey, I recall something about you having something, because every time I look out the window was a new school uniform no niece was wearing. Because I trying to figure out what's going on here, but I never really knew the full story.
Yes.
And so she sent me this 13.5-minute voice note,
Yeah.
and I was very much touched by it. And so I'm going to allow her to share her story, because I think this is so profound, and I know without a shadow of a doubt that this is going to bless you mothers today. So please listen in. Go ahead, Bernice.
Yes. Yes. It's indeed a privilege to be here. When Trishawn contacted me, like she said, I got a 13 minutes because it hit home. It's passion to me to know that see that was my beginning, but that was definitely not my end. I'm still on a journey. Um, at the young age, very young age, I attend NCA schools, and teachers used to told my parents that I had a learning disability. I needed one-on-one. So I started to hear things, but through my journey, they didn't realize that it's a cause of it. So for the past, I moved from NCA with learning disabilities. Then I moved to left because they wanted to repeat me. And, you know, they moved me to the Baptist College, which now is Charles W. Sanders High School. So where I, the teachers, I started to excel and then I dropped again. And then the teacher said I needed a one-on-one where they put me closer to the teachers to sit down beside their desk. So it was like the teachers used to have to spank me, beat me, do all these things, and I was afraid I should choke up. Now this took place, and I so interesting that my aunt came home from school and she started a boys and girls club at Mount Pleasant Green, and this club built self-esteem. They built different things, and we had kids who was a part of the group who were had difficulties in school and all these different things. And I used to hear them talk, and I was quiet listening until they had Deacon DeValier, and he was Deacon DeValier at that time. He's gone on to be with the Lord. He became a pastor after a while, and he spoke, and I spoke to him one-on-one, and I said, I had just, I can't. And all he could hear, I keep saying when I told him I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that, and they wanted me to even do things inside church. And I said, no, I cannot. And I used to choke up. Even when we had questions, I used to tell the person next to me, I used to say, just the answer. Tell, just and I need notice. He said, how come you know the answer? How come you tell them? And he said he had a segment in building self-esteem. And that summer, when we close over the summer, that keep playing back in my mind. And I went to my mom and I said, can I make a decision what school I would like to go to? And I was afraid. And she said, well, I'm going to tell your father because I don't pay school fee. He then has have a problem. He's switching from school. Like Trishawn said that I've been to numerous schools. I've took entrance exams for a lot more schools, which she didn't even know about. And I did well, extremely well. And at this time, my father was very frustrated because he was like, you move from school to school to school. And I'm not into that. We in a bracket. I have other things to do because he was also married. And he was trying to fit me. I felt like he trying to fit me in his budget, which is, normal as a parent, giving a child opportunity to go to private school. So I said, can I go to, she put me in St. John's. I took the exam. Me and my other cousin, who was extremely smart, he failed and I passed. So mommy sat down and she said, how come all these schools you pass? And when you put you in the school, you pass the first semester, then you just as fail. And I look at her and I said, can I choose the school? And she said, if this could make it work and you could excel, yes. I said, I want to go where Lovato went, my cousin. I said, I want to go to Prince William. She said, what is about Prince William? I said, I want to go to Prince William. And she's looked at me and she's called the school and she made arrangements and I went. And enough, I did well in the summer school. And the teacher came to and Miss Greaves. That was my turning point. Miss Greaves said, because of the curriculum at C.W. Sanders High School is not on par with Princeville, we are a little higher. It's going to cost us a struggle. It's not the child's fault. It's because of the schooling, learning structure, the what they offer is not on our level. So I think it's necessary, it's emergency for her to get this one-on-one. I'm going to give you all kind of papers that she needs. She said, right now I'm swamped, but you need to reach out to another teacher to help her with this material. Mom said, okay, no problem. She took me to Blairwood. That's where I met my angel. His name was Mr. Cooper. I went there. He did an evaluation on me. He said, he looked at me. He went to my mom. He said, this girl did excellent in this thing. Mommy said, yes, this is the problem. She was frustrated. And she started to get angry. This been going on from she was a child and this and that and running on and stuff like that. And she said, I'm tired. We wasting our money and stuff like that. And he said, no, hold on. It's an underlying issue. He said, because academic is not her problem. So he took me in the room, and I didn't know that he took my mother in the room to listen to me. And he said, okay, from a child, from when you hear all the way back from a child. And he said, what did you hear? What comes to you? What do you remember? What this person say about you? I said, well, my mom said, I just like my father. My father said, I just like my mom. My mommy family said, I this and I that. So, oh, she ain't gonna be nothing. Oh, she ain't gonna do this. Oh, she gonna do that. Then I had a stepmother who came in the midst of it. Oh, she's this and she's that negativity. So I said, when I go on the exam, sometimes before I prepare for the exam, I used to push my book and say, I going outside to play because I ready what they say I am. I'm from a little girl. And he looked at me and he said, but that's what they say. And I say, certain teachers used to like me and some didn't like me. They used to say, they used to make mockery, or they used to say, you into nothing. And they used to come with the stick and beat me. I said, I don't know the work, but I said, they used to come and have this cane and they beat me. And I said, and I used to shut down. And I said, because I get beaten anyway. And I said, I was at Charles W. Sanders High School. And I said, God, I passed and I was in top stream. And I said, I used to get blamed for being the girls and the fast girls. And I said, I wanted to change. I didn't tell my mother, but I wanted to change. And she said, I used to get bullied in school, and she didn't know that either, because I used to get bullied because my mother was very bright and I was very dark. And she didn't know that, and I told him all of this. And he looked, and my mother came in the room. He loved my mother, and my mother was crying. And she said, I did not know. And she apologized in front of me. And she looked at the teacher, what can I do? And he said, it's not a learning disability. The learning disability she has is a self-esteem block that she has a factor that she cannot, but it's a factor that she can. We have to build her this can. And she said, he looked at me and he said, I give you this equation. He said, look at this equation. What comes in your mind? And I said, negative words. And he said, block the negative words and we'll say, I can. So how could you, as you can, accomplish and solve this problem, this task? And I said, well, he said, what do you want to be? He said, first of all, what inspires you? What movie do you like? I said, I love big business. And he saw the excitement. And he said, what make you excited? I said, me and my cousin Rado, we always played big business because I'm going to be in the financial world. I love those kind of things. I said, my daddy's a banker and I love crunching numbers. And he said, okay, there's a problem. You're going to solve it. And from then I took off. And I chose and he not just helped me in how to, what can I say? He didn't just help me to solve problems in school. He helped build my self-esteem and my confidence. So when I went to school, the teacher said, I don't have time for that. I just said, no, my mommy didn't pay my school fee. And you could teach me this. And tell the teachers, tell my mommy I biggery. I said, you could teach me this. And I used to go home and I say, she didn't want to teach me. And I said, and they used to say, learn these to have a motor. And I used to go in the thing up and I gone straight to Reverend Charles Sanders' office. And I said, do you know that's my Grammy first cousin? And I go to his office. I said, what are they here for? I'm deterred. And he used to say, learn these. I said, yes. I said, I'm deterred. I said, because they have a problem. We paid them here to be here to teach me. And he said, you're absolutely correct. He said, but you don't understand. I said, first of all, y'all mixing up with the You're bringing people that I don't understand when you're teaching. They are Jamaicans. I don't have no problem with nationality, but I don't understand their slang. That was the first thing. I said, secondly, they don't patience. They have their cliques in school. You're not in the, even the teachers have their favorite pets. I'm not in that range. I said, and secondly, and I told him this at a young age, he looked at me and he said, you notice those? I said, yes, sir. I said, yes, sir. I said, some of those teachers bring their personal issues to work. I said, I don't have time for that. I have to be GCSE to accomplish.
Let me ask you a question as you continue. Before you continue. The person who you said was your angel, right? What you told him that it was your mother calling you saying you're just like your daddy, and your daddy's telling you just like your mom. Now I don't want you to get in trouble or anything like that, or expose anything, or cause any relational issues. But what is it that bothered you about you being like your mom and you being like your dad? Because that, I mean, unless it's something negative, why did it impact you or affect you?
Because they made me feel like I was a mistake. Because it was a bad relationship. It was a bad breakup. Two persons in love, teenagers, and it affected. Then another third person came in, and didn't realize that it's an issue. That hey, y'all two are grown ups. Y'all have a child involved. They thought about themselves. They were hurting people, hurting their child. Yeah. So that was the issue. That what happened. That they didn't realize that they needed to their issue, okay, we could deal with that issue behind this child back.
Right. She don't have to know.
She don't have to know.
Right.
But I'm gonna let her know that, that she is loved. Right. She's accepted.
So in a nutshell, in all of this, what do you think caused you that time where you had to go from school to school to school? What was it? Because clearly it wasn't an academic issue. Or if it was, like you said, that you were just tuning people out. So what can you say was the issue?
Sometimes, with me personally, after a while, I told my mother, I was trying to get y'all attention. I was intentionally not doing schoolwork. I said, you notice that when y'all threaten me, I do well the next semester. She looked at me and she said, what? I say, yes. I say, you notice that I never used to study. I never used to pick up the book. I said, my neighbors still used to be studying, but I outside walking up and down. I said, but, I didn't care. I was angry also. Because your issue became my issue as a child. And y'all didn't realize that. Y'all feel like just giving me all the necessities, the clothes, all of that.
Everything. Right up.
Everything.
You had all the jewelry in the world, the necklace, the bracelet, outside playing.
Yes.
You had it all.
Yes, but I'd lack the love. I'd lack the embrace. Just say, you know what? You can become. It's important as parents to know that you brought these little people in the world. It's your duty to cultivate them.
Come on now.
You understand me?
That's my last question. What can you tell as we wrap up before our break? What can you tell parents listening, mothers listening out there, especially based on your situation? You speak on the heart and you talk to them.
Mike's situation is that when that child is born, you nurture that child. When that child becomes one, it's your duty to look at what is the child's strength and weakness. Just observing them in their interaction with other kids and in their homes. And some child is simple as looking at them imagining and playing in the house. Their creativity is you supposed to know and look at that. What we call silly might not be silly. It might be your future millionaire. You understand me? Your gifted minds, your gifted hands. So as a parent, I will say, grow up. It ain't about them. It's you are the parent. You are the person God lend these children to you to nurture them and put them in their lane and cause and push them. If they got to be the one who created something that you didn't even thought about, God placed that in them. God placed them to bring this into existence for future.
What about mothers who take it out on their children when they have bad relationships or divorce or breakup?
With mothers, I know hurt people. I feel like you need to work on you. Work on you to be a better person for that child. Because it's easy said that when you're hurting and you have a child, you how could you heal or protect a child from being, some could do it,
Mhm.
but some, I feel like they need to heal and find themselves first. And in that process, be preventive, being that the child don't walk the same way that you walk, but do it in love.
So, this is the final question.
Mhm.
Sorry for
That's
asking all these
problem.
questions, but you said you needed the nurturing, you needed the care. You were fine academically.
Yes.
So what about a mother who don't know if that child is acting out or not? What would you tell them? I know you're not a therapist,
Mhm.
but I'm talking based on your experience and what you shared with us.
Every mother has a sixth sense. Every mother knows their child. It's just taking time and spending time with your child. And people don't realize that just simple as just making a day for you and your child once a week, or just maybe 2 hours, tells you a lot about your child.
You wanted their attention.
Yes.
So you were fine academically.
Yes.
You wanted their attention.
Yes.
I wanted to end on that. Thank you so much. Let's go on a break, Tony. You were amazing.
Yes, thank you.
Ah, man, that was beautiful.
I'm showing some of the comments.
Sure. Sure, that's so important. We're still on live, so if you want to say anything on our break, you can. Anything else you want to share? Tell the audience, what are you doing now?
Now, I have my bachelor's. I turned around when I graduated from Jordan Prince William. I did a year here at BBCC. Even though I had learning challenges, I still passed my BGCSE with D's and C's, and I was determined to continue to pursue. I went and I did a year in college prep at BBCC, the community college, and then I went off to St. Mary's, where I do extremely well, and I got my bachelor's in science and accounting. Then I got my ICA, and now I have 2 certifications under my belt, where I worked in government. I worked in the hotel industry, the hospitality industry, and accounting. And I now had numerous jobs in financial, like mutual funds companies, offshore bank. Now I'm back to a brokerage company where I'm in the accounting department. So I'm an accountant by profession. And yes,
Congratulations.
thank you.
All right, you made it, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
And thank you so much for sharing with us today, because somebody needs to hear that. Somebody needed to hear that it's more than just looking at a child from the point of view academically. You have to really dig down and find out what is going on with them.
Yes.
What is their environment, how positive or how negative the environment is, can play a factor on the way that they interact in academics. And once again, I'm not a therapist, but we have the people right here, the psychologists, and those who can actually share more about how we can assess and the things that we can do to help.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Lernice, for coming.
My
And if you want,
pleasure.
you can come and continue to listen in.
Yes.
All
It was
right.
my pleasure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Remember now, you're live, even though we're in commercial, okay?
How about 2 positions for the board, 2 positions for the credit committee, and 2 positions for the supervisory committee. Applications can be obtained from any office of the credit union or by requesting it via email to nominationcommittee@mail.com. All applications must be emailed to nominationcommittee@mail.com
Where
or
they are,
delivered to
fine.
any of the branches no later than close of business day, May 17th, 2022.
You're listening to Your Lane with Coach Trish Hanna.
Welcome back. Regular visits to the gynecologist should be part of every woman's healthcare regimen. At Family Medicine Center, they offer a wide range of routine gynecological services to meet the unique healthcare needs of women in every phase of life, from adolescence through childbearing years, menopause, and beyond. In addition to comprehensive gynecological services, they offer complete obstetric care for normal and difficult pregnancies. Visit their website for more information, www.familymedicinecenter.org, or give them a call at 702-9310. So let's go to our first giveaway. We're giving away a bottle of wine courtesy of Kirky's Bar. I know sometimes after we done finished doing what we doing, we had a long day, we done put the kids to bed. There are moments when you just be like, you know what, I need to get a glass of wine, I need to run some water in the tub, I need to just give me some me time. So in order for you to obtain this bottle of red wine, I have a question. Has your teacher or parent ever told you that you were slow? You know, that's the word we use. As a child, and you knew good and well, just like Lorne said, nothing was wrong with you. All you needed was some tender loving care. All you needed was some attention, some affection. Give us a call. Let's hear about it. 328-8163, 328-8164, or 328-8165. So guess what? I told you this was a full plate today. So in studio with me again, we have Antoinette Lewis DeVoe and Mr. Jensel Watkins. Mrs. Antoinette Lewis DeVoe and Mr. Jensel Watkins. Welcome, guests.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming here. Seeing that I didn't get a full write-up from y'all because they are so busy. It ain't like they was lazy or nothing, you know. They just was busy. That's all it was. Antoinette, can you tell us about yourself? A little about yourself.
Okay.
Your academic background.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ms. Antoinette Lewis DeVoe. I am a former school teacher, and now I am a school psychologist in the Ministry of Education. I have obtained my master's degree in education with a major in school psychology from the Duquesne University. And I've been doing this I've been an educator for 14 years in the classroom and 16, well, no, it's more than 16 actually. Gosh, now I got to see how many years. Well, I'm going to say 16 years with the School Psychological Services unit. And but I make it almost 20 plus years, almost 30 years actually. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, 30 years I've been in the education field.
Awesome. And Jensel, can we hear about you?
Well, I'm Jensel Watkins, like she said. I have my bachelor's degree in psychology, and I'm currently working on my master's degree in special education with Walden University. I'm also a parent of two sons, one who's 16 and the other 8. My oldest son is a child with special needs. And so that has prompted me to go into the special education area. So that's why I'm working now on that master's in special education.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. Now, Antoinette,
Yeah.
you know you're smart, right?
I don't
You know you're
much.
smart. And ain't no way I can have you all in here. You're smart folk, and I don't try to teach y'all a little bit. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to give me the wrong answer. All right? I want you to give me the wrong answer in the most innocent, childlike voice that you possibly can. Okay? You got that? Do that for me?
I will try my best. My
Don't show your
bestest.
smartness right now at this moment. All right? So, Antoinette, if Johnny has 6 apples and gives 3 to Sarah, how many apples would Johnny have left?
6.
I say in a childlike, innocent voice.
6.
I got the answer, teacher.
Oh, there it is. That's it right there.
Johnny have 9 apples.
You're being too smart. He said Johnny has 6.
He gave away 3.
Not what this is any other day.
So he's 6.
This was not how I had it planned. I am the parent asking the question now. So it's no longer the teacher. So let's do this again. Let's go back. Oh, the innocent voice. The childlike innocent voice. Let's do this again. If Johnny has 6 apples and gives 3 to Sarah, how many apples would Johnny have left?
Mommy, I told you 6.
You know what? If Johnny had 6 apples, you know what? Go get the belt. Go get the belt.
Mommy,
Why do we do that?
mommy.
Now she wanna come. But why do we do that as parents? Why do we do that?
Because of expectations. And sometimes we
See,
elevate the expectation
or
for
we
the
see
child,
potential
yeah,
that the child
more
has.
than the child can give at a particular time. And so, unfortunately, parents will then start using terms that you know the answer. I know you know the answer. You lazy, or you this and you that. You're not thinking straight. Not understanding. Maybe the child didn't make that connection to the problem that was given. Maybe at that particular time, the child's mind, depending on what you were doing with your child, where they were thinking. Maybe you just call them up from playing. You'll give them time to relax.
And I think sometimes too, like how I answered 9. Sometimes children they kind of hear the numbers, the 6 and the 3, and they forget the commands, and so they're always thinking at and the subtraction didn't play a factor in the mind, so they just said okay, 6 and 3, 9. So sometimes you have to
But
see.
that's from the child perspective. But if you're looking from the parent who's screaming and shouting,
Yeah.
they're not understanding that that's how the
The
child,
child
is
is thinking.
processing it.
And you feel as if, I know you don't, but why do you think they feel as if beating the child is
Well, that's
going to
cultural
help?
for us. Culturally, Bahamians, most Bahamians, not all, and that's why I don't want to use, and because we don't have database,
Right.
but most Bahamians tend to react in the terms of we're going to beat, we're going to shout, we're going to scream, because they allow their level of frustration. And you'll hear parents say, well, I've been doing this. I tell them over and over and over. So the level of frustration is there and it's elevated.
Mhm.
And so their first reaction is always the physical mean. That's just culture. That's our culture.
But it does not work.
No, we're not saying it's correct, but culturally, that's how we react.
Mothers, please stop it, okay? Please stop it. Stop shouting. They heard your question the very first time, so saying it louder is not going to make a difference. Give them a chance to process the question, as Chancellor and Antoinette stated, and then give them a chance to answer. And if they don't get it, then you take the time and you help them out with the answer. And if you don't know how to do to process the math yourself, go to the teacher and let the teacher know. That's
Yeah.
my 5
Find
cents.
out.
Find
Now,
out.
before we continue, I have a serious question. I want to know what is the difference between. No, before I ask the question, were you able to hear Bernie's situation?
Yes.
How do you find that happens a lot in our culture as well, as far as parents? Well, as far as students, not what's the word I want to use? They act out academically or in any way because of the what's happening in their environment, their home environment.
That is common. It is a common thing, whereby persons react quicker on what is happening then and right in the front of them, without finding out whether or not what is the variables, what are the factors that is attributing to why the child is doing such thing, and then persons jump to because whatever it does, if it affect the classroom. Now remember now, if as an educator in the classroom, and I'm talking from being a former educator in the classroom, you are focused towards looking at certain things. So you know the child has the potential, you can see that. But at the same time, you're still trying to question, well, why would the child at a certain point digress when the child has the potential to do this? Yeah, to progress. But they digress, so they can progress, but you know that they have that potential. So most of the time you'll say, okay, let's see if we can find out what's the problem. And if the home is not upfront and straightforward with the teacher, then it leaves them for an assumption. And I think in her incidents, from what I gathered, I think a lot of assumptions was made until one person said, wait, hold on. Let's develop a profile on this child and let's see what are the variables, what are the things that are causing this child to respond academically
In the negative way.
But look at what it took. You now, well, this was then, so please don't try to judge the schools that she her calling those names all the school names has nothing to do with your lane life coaching. Don't judge us, don't call us, don't write no letter to us, and don't write no letter to Star 106 FM. That is her view and opinion and experience she had with those school names. Let me just put that little disclaimer in there now. So based on she's in the back laughing, based on what was said, and it happens now. I know that for a fact. You have some teachers who just don't care. They be like, man, this child don't care. He don't want to learn. She don't want to learn, or whatever, and then they leave it. You know, you do have some really good teachers out there who say, look, I see something. Let me take you to the guidance counselor. Let me take you to someone who can further assess your situation.
I wouldn't say that, because saying that they don't care is very harsh.
Okay.
Remember now,
Not
teachers
all,
have,
some.
right, I know some. Remember, teachers do have that more than just that one child in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And so with their plate full, and I'm not trying to make excuses,
No.
because, anything can happen. And so I don't want it to be where persons say, oh yeah, that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
Because even as a parent, if you notice certain things, you can make that teacher accountable. You
Mhm.
can go to that teacher and say, if that teacher, well, sit with me and explain to me exactly what you're seeing with my child.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get an understanding. Take ownership, because that at the end of the day, it's still your child.
Mhm.
And if the teacher doesn't push where you think, then as a parent, go and find out where else you can go. Go and speak to someone else to see what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, is there a difference between a learning disorder and a learning disability?
Yes. Although they're used interchangeably, people do, there is a difference. Learning disability is used for legal or policy making, such as the Bahamas. Sorry, in the Bahamas, we use terms for policy making. We say person with disability act.
Mm-hmm.
That's an act. In the U.S., they have IDEA, what is the um, Individual Disability Education Act.
Mm-hmm.
So those are terms they use, or schools will use them if they notice something is going on with the child after a certain assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, disorder is a diagnosis. It's diagnosed by a professional.
Mm-hmm.
Only a professional
Professional
could
can
diagnose a disorder.
Okay. So in this now, based on your definition, my question is, what are some of the most common disabilities you've discovered among our Bahamian children? And can I ask, Jensen, are you able, because you do the assessment? Do you?
She does.
She does.
No, my question, my when you gave this question, I think you needed to change it a bit because, sorry, I think it should have been amongst children in the Bahamas instead of Bahamian children, because not every child in the Bahamas is a Bahamian.
Okay, that's fine.
So that's what I wanted to say. But
I thought he was
Well, I'm
voting.
gonna call him out right now. Jensen will be on the camera when try to show me up on my show. Okay? Hold
I'm
on.
not trying
Put
to
that
show
camera
you
on,
up.
Jensen.
No, I'm not trying to
Put
show
the-
you. I'm sorry.
But that's my personality. That is fine, and that is true.
Yeah.
Because not every student in the Bahamas are Bahamians. That is very true.
Yeah.
Well, the last information that came out in 2012, it was noted that about 20% of our children in our schools can be identified with some
Right.
form of disability.
Mhm.
That could be more because we haven't had, I haven't,
No
data
data science.
to say. But what we see commonly amongst students come in, I mean, and I only could speak from what I am aware of.
Mhm.
You can get referrals based on from teachers as well as schools that the child has low academic achievement. They're not performing up to par like their peers.
Concentration.
They're
disability.
concentrated, right? Low motivation. They're fidgety. They're distracted, easily distracted. They're not focused. They don't understand or comprehend.
Mhm.
They have reading difficulties or math difficulties, written language difficulties. And so we hear a lot of that. Or they're overly active. They're not focused. They can't keep still. They're easily excited. Things like that you would hear from schools.
Mhm.
And so remember what I said earlier, a disorder has to be diagnosed by a professional.
Right.
And so diagnosis could be different based on what is seen because there's a slew of assessment that needs to be done to make a diagnosis.
Mhm.
So persons, um, commonly you might have ADHD
Mhm.
with a comorbid of reading disability or reading disability by itself.
Mhm.
Or you may have a child on the spectrum, autism, the
Yes.
autism spectrum disorder, or they may have a language or communication disorder.
Or children tend to, so typically you can have a child in a class
Mhm.
and we're thinking that they're low performing, but they can have a hearing issue. And sometimes we don't pick up on these things as well. They're talking to us normally, they're interacting and doing all these stuff, but are they hearing you properly?
I'm
And
glad you
so
said that. Mhm.
if I'm not hearing you properly, I can't respond or react in a
I'm
proper
so
way.
glad you said that.
And so we
That's
call that auditory processing problem or
okay.
processing speed problem,
Mhm.
Okay.
memory problem. So
Now, let me
there's
tell you,
something.
and the reason why I said this, I'm so glad you said that because I'm remembering now. I had my daughter was 3 at the time when I was panicking. I'm like, oh Jesus, my child ain't talking. My child ain't talking. At 3, and everyone. Well, I had my son before my daughter. He was speaking from I don't must be 10 months, 11 months, somewhere around there with words and all this other stuff. And we placed her in school. And in the school environment, all of her parents, all of the kids at that time, were, saying what they want, calling cop
Bad
and calling all
language.
these different things, whatever. And she's just pointing to those things. Okay, I started panicking. I tried to figure out what's going on with her. When I kept whenever she would go to her pediatrician, I would explain the situation, and they'd be like, "Oh, child, that's just development. That's fine. It's nothing about that." Or it's going to take a while. Make sure she stays in school. Make sure you read up. I've been reading. I always do that. I'm a firm believer in reading to my kids from in the womb. So I'm like, I'm doing all of that. And I started to panic. And I was like, I got free. I was like, I don't know what to do, whatever. So what happened? I don't know how I got in this Dr. Scriven, I think her name is, that she does
Audiologist.
audiologist. She's an audiologist. And I went to her and I said, can you just do me a favor and do your load testing? There's a story behind that, so I'm not even go there, which is a really good story, by the way, but I just stick to the point. And she did that and found out that my daughter had
Okay.
what was it? Fluid
In the air.
fluid in the air. And so as she was explaining to me, she said, well, she can only, and if she would say anything, it would be so far from what the word actually is. And she's like, well, it's just like you go in underneath water and you trying to listen to what somebody is saying underneath water. It's blurry. You can't, I mean, not blurry, but it's what's the word I want to use? You have like the water is a barrier to your hearing. It is actually causing her not to hear anything, which is of course affecting her speech.
Especially the
Okay.
speech tones.
Right. And so that was an issue when I thought, because I thought that she was doing pretty well with all the various milestones that she had except speech. So thanks so much for bringing that. So for some parents that is listening, trying to figure out, and I'm sure this is not for every case, but I would recommend to get your child's hearing tested.
Well, that's one of the things we required before an assessment is done. Rule out all physical
Mhm.
attributes first.
Mhm, mhm.
And somebody said, why they want you? Because we want to make sure there's no vision problem.
Right.
And you're saying, oh, my child can't read or my child has difficulty reading, where you realize that maybe something with the sight.
Mhm.
You want to rule out whether or not there's a hearing. So we always required a visual and an auditory assessment or examination to be done.
So speaking of that, what are some of the things to observe during the developmental stages of a child?
Now, there is a whole lot, every child develops
Yeah.
differently.
Mhm.
And so we don't want parents to go there and start,
Panicking like
oh, my child ain't reached this
Mhm.
development
Mhm.
food. You have to look at environmental factors as well. That's the key to most of everything,
Mhm.
environmental factors.
Mhm.
And so I'm just going to give just brief things because I don't want parents to panic.
Right.
It is common that at certain milestones, like if you say 2 to 6 months,
Mhm.
my child should be lifting his or her head at a certain certain degrees. You don't expect a 2 months old to be right up unless there's some
We don't know.
Nowadays,
I
we
mean,
have
Yeah, we don't.
anything
Yeah,
is
I mean,
possible.
anything is
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah,
But true.
yeah.
Right. You should also, or pulling up without support at certain time, rolling over. These are some of the common things. Tuning into voices, like if they can hear, you see them being alert. You say, "Oh, my child had to be alert."
Mhm.
You maybe giving a little giggle or laughter, or you see them smiling. Things that are reaching out when they see mommy or daddy coming, who they're familiar, or somebody they're familiar with. Um, Even giving a smile, because you know when people start doing the pickaboos and all that, you see them start smiling, their face of it person. Then you have between the 6 to 1 year, you hope that the child is able to pull up, be able to say little short words, the mama, dada. But I think the first thing most kids that have parents say, well, they say dada first.
Dada, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And that's because of the tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they gripping, you put your finger on and then they're able to grip the
Yes.
fingers
Uh-huh.
and holding things in their hand. By um, by 1 year, they can take their sippy or their bottle and they can drink. And then they start to wave and they know what they want, or they pointing to things that they would like. Then by between 1 to 2, of course, the walking. Now you have some kids that start walking earlier now.
Mhm.
I've heard parents say, "Oh, my child don't even crawl; they start walking." So you have kids pulling up and walking, or they may start going upstairs on their own, or they may holding on to someone as they climb stairs. Then they making the single words now become short sentences, then eventually into more combined sentences. The older they become, they start to put on their own clothing, take off their own clothing, and you're still assisting them on certain things while they're doing this.
Right.
So you monitor the mouth. So like I said, it all based on environment and how the parents view uh, development and what their child should be obtaining.
Okay, so you do the assessment because I honestly thought it was gentle that does assessments. No.
I
What
do
exactly
some
do you do?
assessment, but
Okay.
not. I do the pre-assessment.
Okay.
I normally, where I'm at, I normally do the RAT,
Mhm.
which is the
Which is a screener, can be done by persons that looking to see a snap that can provide a snapshot of if there's a possible deficit or difficulty or
And-
problem that the child is having.
and
So
So
they so persons have to come to you first.
not
for-
necessarily,
Right.
but I tend to do. We tend to do it at our school, so we do it so that we know if they need to go for further assessment. Because
Right.
sometimes by the screener, you can tell that the child has no like there's no issue.
Right.
It's probably the child just is not focused,
Mhm.
or the child sometimes it's just not ready. What you call it?
We say give them
Prepared.
intervention first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sometimes teachers can use strategies because not everybody learned the same,
Of course.
and I think that's what happens. Sometimes we just gotta take somebody a different route. We
Right.
gotta do there's many ways to teach a child, I would say.
Mhm.
And so sometimes I say you have to either play a game, you have to bring in toys or apples or cars or whatever it is,
Something.
to interest the child,
Mhm.
to get the child's interest. And then I think that's when learning can take place in most cases. But sometimes you know that everything that you're showing the child, there's some things that the child should know at a certain age.
Right.
And with some of the screen with that screener you have the alphabet and all those stuff to see if they identify letters, because you should be able to identify letters
Mhm.
at the age of 5.
So
Right.
being
Now that's only the achievement aspect of it. There's always a cognitive aspect of it,
Mhm.
because a child can excel, may not function in the academics or the achievement or have struggle in certain areas, but you still need to find out there's some cognitive problems that can cause a delay.
And
Okay.
so hence the further referral. So once we see that, we will then write a referral or to the school psychological department,
Or any
or any other
Other.
agency, to do further evaluations.
Okay.
Um,
And this is in the public sector.
it could be
We could
public
go
or
private.
private.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
mhm.
All right. So I don't. Just before we take another break, I want to know, how do you assess a child to determine if they have a learning
Well,
disability?
First of all, assessment is a wide range of assessments.
Before you, sorry, not to cut you off. Now I'm not referring to like the 3 and the 5-year-olds. I mean the ones that
School age.
that the school age, the
Yes.
primary school and above, especially after this pandemic.
Okay, well that's a different story. So that's something I will discuss. We can discuss later.
Mhm.
But the what we look for mainly, if a parent or a teacher or school has a concern, or even a caregiver or the child pediatrician or someone, and they say, okay, let's write a referral to a psychologist or someone who in turn on an evaluator who does assessment, and that's fine out. We want to rule out various disorders. So it all depends on what the parent or the concern that the school or the home has or the medical facility has. And then we will say, in most cases, and I can speak for myself in terms of what I would normally do. I call in the parent and start. That's the first, or what we call the initial assessment,
Right.
where I have a conversation with the parent. I get some background information and I start to develop a profile or create a profile on the child. Then I was okay, see if it's okay for me to go into the school. So, and I have to interview the teacher, the counselors. I need to find out whether or not what is going on in the school because most academic problems happen at the school.
Right.
Parents will notice certain things, but where does the child spend most of his or her academic time? At school. And so you want to get that as well as maybe as prepare for an observation, a classroom observation. That also provide more information if you can. And not all assessors or evaluators can do that.
Right.
And like I said, that will be something I will tend to do. Not all of the time, but if I could, I will do that with the permission of the parent. Once that is done and I've obtained my information, that's when I start my evaluation, which will entail a cognitive or an intelligence test as well as an achievement test. And parents and teachers will receive rating forms to complete. And the rating forms can range from any behavioral rating form or functional adaptive rating form that I need to get information. Once all of that is done, I compile all of that information, plug in my raw scores to obtain my results, sit down, analyze, and interpret the results. Then we provide a probable diagnosis. And if they need further, then we refer them to a doctor who's maybe specialized in the given field to make an official diagnosis.
Are you able to? I don't know. This is something that teachers can do. Well, parents probably first. Some early warning signs to tell if a child has a learning disability.
Everybody should know their child and what they're capable of doing. And so what you want to do, especially when the child, I always say give the child at least 1 year in first grade because most of our children do not go to kindergarten or preschool. And most of our preschools, although some are regulated, most of them may not be. So it's different if a child went to a regulated. When I say regulated, they follow a particular curriculum and not just watching or babysitting, but they follow a particular. So that's different. But so if a child goes into first grade, other than those who have noticeable, now I'm not saying because some children at preschool, you can notice some global developmental delays. And you notice I'm using the term global developmental delays because you still have to get all this information based on environment and factors that can stop the child from progressing or moving as in comparison to his or her peers.
Right.
Now,
So,
once
so
you
what
want
are
to-
some of those factors?
Well-
Who showed us this? Who showed this? Yes. You can't come here, don't want to be on camera and then asking my guess what the answer the question.
okay, some of these factors to be, like I stated earlier, environmental, physical. Simple as that. When you give the example with your daughter,
Yeah.
what if you have said, "Oh, I got to go get her assessed. Oh, my child isn't functioning." You put that child through a whole drama where it was a physical problem that was attributing to her delay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I always tell parents, you are the first everything to your child. You're the first physician because when you take them to the pediatrician, what happens?
They have to ask.
They
you.
have to ask you
Yes,
what's
yes,
going on.
yes.
You are the first teacher because they're learning from you at home first.
Yeah.
So you should know your child better than anybody. So, and sometimes we compare our children. This one did it faster than this one, and so what should we do? Oh, something is wrong, like she said with Johnny. And sometimes it's just Johnny is not Johnny time to develop in that area. Johnny might be developing in another area faster than the other child, but we're not noticing that. We're looking for the typical or the normal things that we always look for, where Johnny is sitting there and reading a book, and we even realize he's reading the book and can read. But we're looking at all of these, he should be walking by now, or he should be saying all of these words by now. And that doesn't happen with every child.
Now, there are noticeable things once a child enters school. So we look at sound, we look at language, and whether or not, okay, and not all language problem I get plus or I get, or we look at attention, whether or not they're focused or not focused. We also take it in factor too, because you might have a parent say, but my child don't act this way when they're home and they don't act this way.
Yeah.
And the teacher said they're acting this way. Okay, is a child an only child? Is the child socializing with other children? So there's so many variables that we ask because we don't want person to jump to conclusion.
But
right
sometimes,
away.
even with that only child syndrome, some children mimic that, because what happens too is you can have a child that is 10 years older than the other one. So you're starting from scratch.
Mhm.
So that child tends to act like an only child.
Right.
You understand?
Right. And then you have some children that do develop, and they have that innate ability to develop faster than another child. But once again, we always say it has to be persistent. The behavior has to be persistent. How long you notice that the child constantly be failing or having difficulty reading, or did you get the eyes checked? Did you get the hearing checked? Did you get these things checked before we can say, okay, now we need to do the assessment. So there's a lot of questions we want to clear out first, and we're not saying that don't do it early, because early intervention is
It's
the
key.
best.
Yes.
It's key.
Yes. My question before we go on a break is: ADHD a learning disability?
No, it's a disorder. That's
Okay.
why it's attention
Attention
deficit hyperactivity
Hyperactivity disorder.
disorder.
Okay, so how can you tell if a child has it?
Now you have two types of presentation. Well, I should say three, because you have the combined. So you have what we call ADHD inattentive presentation and ADHD hyperactivity impulsivity presentation. Then you have the combined, where a child can have both.
Mhm.
With inattention, the child is not focused, does not have get bored easily, is unable to.
That's me.
You get bored easily.
Mhm.
You want to be on my camera, but you get bored easily. Maybe if you come on the camera, you can get bored. By the way, there are persons on the live asking to see you. Who's this Jensel? In fact, we have Kim Gibson say, "Tell Jensel go on the camera so we can see him, please." That's your good friend. She won't see you.
They fail to pay close attention to details. They don't complete tasks. But your parents, if a parent, I put him to do his homework and they ain't finished,
Doing something else.
and they do it right, or
But isn't that a typical child?
it all depends. Remember, I said persistent. How often? So it can't be
Child
typical if
is
they're doing
gonna
it over
Well, I
and
need to get my
over
son
and
assessed
over
because
and over
I don't know
and
what's
over
going on.
and
Let me
over
stop.
and over.
Right?
Yeah, that's why we say persistent
Yeah.
more than the average child. I mean, just one time it happens.
Mhm.
It constantly happens every time you send the child to work, and you're hearing the same thing in another environment.
Mhm.
So not only at home, he's also doing the same thing at school,
Okay.
or he or she.
Mhm.
I'm going to use general he. So the child may also display the same behavior in various settings or environment.
Mhm.
That's when you could say they
What
may
if
have
they
some.
like fidgety?
Now that's hyperactivity.
Okay.
So we're still in the attention. They may be messy, they're disorganized, they're easily distracted, they forget things. Now we get to the hyperactivity part of it, where you see they're overly excited.
Mhm.
They fidget a whole lot. Their hands got to be moving, and
Mhm.
I remember also you have adults because ADHD can also go to the adult range. Okay.
Gentle been flopping and flipping his leg underneath his table the whole time.
The
I need to
whole time.
find out. That's
Then
what I-
they leave their seat without when they're supposed to be seated. So the child just picks up and run.
No
Just go
reason.
without no reason. They have to move. And I remember observing the child, he just pick up and go when he was brought back. He simply said, well, I wanted to go outside.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Oh, there.
Yeah. They run about, they climb about, and this is done more than what is appropriate for their age. You have children who crawl under desks, crawl. They're climbing the wall, they're climbing. They're
That's
doing
those
a lot of
kids that
things.
make you look dizzy, make you dizzy.
Yes.
Yeah.
You go to the, I don't know if you ever went to a large mall or I don't know if this, I haven't seen it here in our malls. You see sometimes parents have some things on their and the child attached to like
Leash.
a
Yeah, I
leash.
used to do that. I used to do that when I was, and ain't nothing wrong. I just said I just need to make sure because we're in the Bahamas, so I need to make sure.
Oh, you do that for protection,
yeah,
right?
it's only for protection
Okay.
wise.
Some people do it because if they let that child go,
That's
that's
it.
it.
Boom, Speedy Gonzalez. So I until that, Gentle, we're gonna take a break, and after this break, we're gonna have our guest from Freeport. She's gonna explain to us what her issues are, where she is, and I think one of the issues she had was just finding a school for her challenged son. Right after this.
Skills and accessories is your one-stop shop for all your footwear needs. Whatever the occasion, John's is confident will
That's
find
well,
you
Alexandria Smith Roll. I can't see her.
Women, men, children, the whole family, together with John's great prices and helpful and friendly customer service.
You can talk.
Hey, Alexandria, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Hi.
I'm ready to
Hi.
read.
Check your mic.
Check your mic. Check your mic.
Yeah.
It's
Check your
on.
mic, Alexandria. Should I put on my headphones? Oh, to be able to hear? Okay.
Oh,
Can you
sorry.
hear me?
I'll get it. Give me 1 second.
Okay, perfect.
You can hear it, but
There you go. Hello. How are
Hi.
you?
I'm good.
That's good. So we're on a break now. So as soon as we get back on,
Yeah, that's
I'm
what
gonna
I'm saying.
ask
Mhm.
you to just talk a little bit, say a little about yourself,
You
and
can
then
play a piano.
you can talk about some of the
Yeah, the whole
challenges that you have with your son,
I'm a sibling,
and
everybody.
No,
just
the
it's
sibling.
about 5 minutes.
But I know the
if
two boys.
possible.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright.
no problem. Headphone for this one.
Okay,
Who?
because it's a sound. That's what.
No,
That's what
because
you
your
want.
mic is gonna cut to the speaker.
Oh. Okay.
That's so we don't get feedback in the studio.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Gentle then will be able to
They
hear.
can hear it if they go in there. They can hear that speaker in there.
Okay. Y'all want to hear her now?
Well, you can write your notes.
You want them on?
Well, I just want to wrap, because I didn't wrap up with them yet.
Well, this headphone. There's a headphone here.
Yeah.
Okay, so use that headphone.
Okay.
Sound by.
There you go. Okay.
You good to
I
go.
get another one.
Okay.
I don't know, like you did.
I can round them again when we get back.
And some turn that camera
Please
rolling.
get the other one. Because the people want to hear him.
Stand by. Stand by.
And he's so intelligent.
Stand by.
Hey everyone, welcome back. We have with us on the line Alexandria Smith Roll, who's having an issue with school placement for her son that has Asperger's. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, Asperger's.
Asperger's. I've never heard about that. Asperger's syndrome. Can you just tell the audience what it is and tell us
You want me
about your present challenge?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm a mother to a recently 6-year-old boy. He has been diagnosed with Asperger's, and Asperger's is just high functioning autism. That's the diagnosed word use. And it's basically high functioning autism. He's more on the higher end of the autism spectrum. So what that means is that he's able to communicate. He appears normal, quote unquote, but he still has the issues or some of the issues that a regular autistic person or a person on a lower end or a milder end of the disability of the spectrum would display.
Okay. So what seemed you're muted. Can
No,
you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, can hear you now because you were talking and couldn't hear what you were saying. All right. So what seemed to be a challenge there? Because you're in Freeport, and you said the issue is trying to find a school for him or trying to find a teacher that can suit where he's at based on the autism spectrum. What is the issue?
It's basically both. I have recently moved here back in March for work. I am also a teacher, and I was transferred to Freeport to work in a high school. And in Nassau, it was the same issue. Freeport, it's the same issue. I cannot find a suitable school to place my son. Everywhere is always, anytime they hear the word autistic or all of these words related or terms related to special education, they immediately think derogatory words, retarded or slow or something along those lines. And I feel appalled, first of all, that they would immediately go to those derogatory terms because autistic persons are intelligent. They are very intelligent. I cannot begin to, start to say all of the things that I could list off to say that how intelligent they are. And they are normal human beings, just like each and every one of us. And the schools that I've called, they have not been very accommodating, to say the least. I had a run-in with a public school. I won't call the name.
No, please.
Yeah. I will not call the name. But when I was transferred over here, the district superintendent had given me a school to call and said, okay, well, you could speak to them and let them know your situation. So I had an appointment with the principal there. And upon coming to the school, first off, I immediately got turned around by, I assume, the staff of the office saying, oh, we're full, we're packed. I said, I have a meeting with the principal. Oh, she said, we're full. I was like, okay, well, I guess that's that. So I turned around and I went home. And I got a call later on from the person who arranged the meeting for me, apologizing on their behalf to say that she was waiting. The principal was actually waiting for me. And I told her my situation. I told her I went there. They said that, she said they were full. No one's accepting anyone. So long story short, they made another appointment for the meeting the next day, and I attended. Did not get to speak with the principal yet again. The vice principal was there, and I had to speak with her. And I had my son along with me as well. And I brought him with me, and we were in the meeting, and she was talking about the results that he got from the previous school and saying, okay, well, his results looks like it could align with advanced placement in grade 2. And I told him my worries, he's still only 5, he's 5 at the time. I know you don't want him to go on a higher level at this time for more social reasons more than academics. Mm-hmm. And when I started speaking to her and telling her all about, what's going on, my son was moving up and down, like just like how my hand is moving in front of the screen, so that means her and I was talking. And she's like, well, can't you tell him to sit down? Like, what's going on? Like, I can't even see you, I can't even talk. That was just the first red flag to me because, I know you're not a special education teacher, you may not have any experience, but if I already told you the situation with my son, then I didn't expect you to comment about his behavior like that. He made it seem like it was a big issue. Mm-hmm. So I already got a bad feeling about it from them. And she continued to say, well, he's going to have to come in because I have to see where he's going to be, like, he's going to act normal. And I'm just like, wow, I can't believe the words that are coming out of her mouth. It was just disbelief. I was just,
So, can I call you Alex?
yep, that's fine.
Is this, I'll ask Antoinette this question, first of all. Is her situation one where, because she's saying her son is extremely intelligent, and based on the syndrome that her son has, is is that the same thing as like a learning disability? No.
It is a learning disability because it's on the spectrum. However, it is a disorder. It's not a learning disorder. It's a disorder. It's autism spectrum disorder. And because he's on the spectrum, however, he's functionable in the classroom. The only difference is because as rated as Asperger's, he has social problems.
Mhm,
So he'll have difficulty socializing like the average child.
mhm.
And if somebody just come up to him or whatever, he will develop a more higher anxiety
Right.
than the typical child. If with schools, I think the adults are more afraid than the children because if they teach the students what it is, if they teach them or prepare students, then there wouldn't be a big issue because children would tend to look out for other children. However, if we show our fears because we don't understand, then of course it transfers to the other children.
Right.
And the adults in turns make it worse. Special education in our country don't get the recognition that it needs to
Okay.
get.
Okay.
And children with special needs or special needs children, it's not a death sentence. We just need to look at their weaknesses and their strengths. And a lot of them have strengths, and we need to promote the strengths instead of concentrating. That's why I don't. When I do an assessment, I'll tell parents don't look at the diagnosis to put a label on your child.
Right.
Look at it in terms of how you can put the intervention in place.
Right.
But everybody needs to be on board,
You
and
have.
it's very difficult.
I always say that you have to look at the ability rather than the disability.
Disability, yes.
But heard her said something about him moving up and down during the meeting with the vice principal.
Go ahead, Alex. You heard him, Alex? While we wait on her, what do you do in, let's say, I know what there are some private sectors that deal with kids with learning disabilities, learning disorders, and all those other things. But what happens in the public sector? Where do you place kids who may not be able to thrive in a regular classroom?
Because I'm not here, unfortunately, on the public invitation. I mean, the only thing I can tell them to do as parents, if they have questions or any concern, to call to the Ministry of Education. And once they make the call, we will be aware. We'll be able to assist them in terms of giving them information that they might require.
So what you're telling me is, because I ain't gonna just let you leave it like that, but I respect what you're trying to say too, but I still want to know, is there a place in the governmental sector where we can place these children if they're unable to thrive in a regular classroom environment?
Of
course
there
Yes or no?
is.
Once again, they can contact the
She's trying to be
Ministry of
politically correct.
Education and they will get the necessary information so they can call the main desk and they will be able to forward them to the help desk who will give them that information.
Alex, I have a question for you. What tips can you give to a mother to help them to cope with children with challenges? Who's listening right now? Can she hear me? Oh, the internet. Okay. All right. I see where she's moving her lips, but I can't hear what she's saying. She said she can't hear. So, Gentle and Antoinette, let me ask you this question. And Gentle, you have a child with special needs?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so what tips can you give to a mother or to any parent rather to deal and cope
Great
with
question.
the child?
Like I said earlier, I didn't look at the disability. I tried to look at the ability, what my child can do, and focus on those things and try to push him more in those areas. And sometimes what I find as an educator, um, we are so focused on academics and not on the whole child, because a lot of times we find that a lot of kids might not thrive academically, but they may be gifted in another area. So we need to find avenues to help those kids to thrive in those things that they are good at. Some of them are really good with their hands. So try to find those things. I think we need to add more programs to our system as a whole in education,
Come
period.
on, come on.
Um, you know, I find children, they're good at woodwork or carpentry. I think we need to introduce these things earlier in life. Plumbing and all those things. And we can use these things to teach them the basic skills like the math, the language, encourage them in those areas. And I think once they find a knack or something that they're good at, they will be willing to learn the stuff that they need to thrive in that area.
Wonderful. And can I say this? I have a few friends who take their kids out of the country to go elsewhere just to help with their kids that have
Well,
challenges.
I'm one of those persons who my son and my wife had to leave for 5 years to go to the US to get some help because we needed the help. It's costly. I mean, disabilities on the whole, they're costly. Especially, I know she's saying, we talk about ASD, autism spectrum disorder. That is a costly disability. I mean, the therapies alone, you need occupational therapy, physiotherapy for some kids, you need speech and language.
You
These
also need
things
the
cost
behavioral
money.
therapy as well.
Exactly. And I am a firm believer that, when we talk about the movement and children, not because she was saying her son was, I guess, moving a lot. Um, Children can't learn if they're moving constantly. We have to get the behavior intact first
Right.
before learning can take place. So where there's no behavior, learning can't happen.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry for interjecting, the resources for special education is very limited in our country. And so when we look at special education, we have to think about the resources, the availability of resources. Also, if we're under the mindset that one cap fits all, we will always have that difficulty. Well, and not look at how differentiated instruction, how we can address every child specific need.
Right.
And it could be done. It just, once again, the resources need to be placed for it to be done.
Thank you. Alex, are you there? Alex, man, what Wi-Fi does this you on, man? What is this? Tell the truth and shame the devil. Huh? We gotta give you a ticket and fly you over to Nassau so you can come in our show next time, because I know you're having little technical difficulties on that end. All right, but let me just say, if you need blood work right away, Family Medicine Center has just what you need right where you need it. They provide excellence in lab testing for HIV, blood glucose, cholesterol, kidney, liver, and thyroid function. All routine testing is done in their on-site lab with same-day results. Visit their website for more information, www.familymedicinecenter.org, or call them at 702-9310. Before I ask Jensel and Antoinette to wrap up with us and say their last words, final words to us, I want to be able to challenge our mothers today. And the first challenge is to be cognizant about the words you speak over your children. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. We know that, right? A child will believe what you speak over them, and they will become what you speak over them. So speak life. Even if they're not getting the concept of a particular assignment, at least commend them for their efforts. Repeat after me. I will be mindful of what I speak over my child because my words are life. Secondly, be patient with them. If it gets too intense when you're helping them with their assignment, take a break. Go get some fresh air. Let them get a snack or some water and then come back. Even though they are children, they still sense your frustration, which causes them to get frustrated. If you are too impatient to deal with your child, ask a neighbor or someone that you trust to help you. And finally, be intentional about overseeing their academic efforts. Bernice reiterated, in fact, she alluded to this earlier. She said, look at what they're doing. Try to make an attempt to set appointments with the teacher at least once a month. Show that you care about the way that your child learns. Ask them questions about their work. I sometimes ask my kids, was there a topic or a subject you had today that you weren't grasping? And listen to them. Teach your children to tell the teacher when they don't understand. Some kids learn differently. Make an effort to find out how your child learns. So we're going to take a break, and after the break, we're going to go with our final words.
I think she can hear you now.
Hey, Alex, can
Oh,
you hear me
yes,
now?
I can hear now. I can hear now.
Alex, man, show that Wi-Fi, that whoever that is, show that away. Don't call the name, but could just say
That
we
is
have two of them
BTC.
companies who sponsor the whole media company. Don't do it.
Boy, PC is acting up today.
Listen. So what I'm going to do is just allow you to tell me how you can tell the audience how you cope just before we wrap up, okay?
Cope with the not finding a proper
Just
school.
coping with your child and the challenges that you faced.
It is
Because-
a challenge finding a proper school for a child.
Come back.
You want to ask that question? Okay,
So we're
so
going back on already?
Come back.
go ahead.
Well,
Welcome back. So we got Alex back. As I told Alex before, don't call the name of your company that you use, but man, throw that away, man. Throw that away, go get something else. Because that ain't serious. So, Anthony, I had a question for you, Alex. Welcome
Okay.
back, Alex.
Hi.
Okay, you said it was a difficulty finding the school for your child. Is it because of the limitation of the school or the resources or the fact that persons don't understand the disorder?
I believe it's because of lack of understanding and not having experience with that ability, that disability. That's why people are very hesitant to take him on because, like I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you caught it. I said that a lot of people, they think of when they hear autism, they picture a certain image in their heads of what an autistic person is supposed to behave like, look like, act like. So before even meeting him, they already put him in that category, so to speak. So I think that's the issue.
So where is he now throughout the day? Because you're teaching.
Currently, he is at the Beacon School for Exceptional Children, and I just want to shout them out. That whole school is the most perfect school ever. It just gives you a sense of calmness, and like you can get along with your day to know that your child have persons who understand his disability, who are knowledgeable of his disability, and who is able to tackle and handle him and anything else that, all his coping mechanisms are. It's a different kind of peace, honestly.
Well, we understand because, of course, the Beacon School is a special
Yes.
needs school.
Yes, but
And
the
so
issue
they
there
have
is-
the understanding of the need. But unfortunately, for parents to have to go through that when the child could be placed in a regular classroom with the necessary resources, that's, it's unfortunate, but hopefully in the future we can get away from that and persons can now embrace that not all, what is inclusive, let's use the term, inclusive education.
because they say we do it here, but we do not.
Hmm.
We do
Listen,
not do
all
it.
y'all educators and all y'all psychologists and stuff, y'all need to come together and do one school, put one school together, build a school up. Jantel, you first. You draw out how you want the school to look, and then hire Antoinette and Alex and let them go ahead and do what's possible.
You can afford me.
Child ain't getting that. That's between y'all two. But Alex, thank you so much for creating awareness to us Asperger. What it is?
Asperger's.
Asperger's. Thank
But
you so
actually,
much
the
for that.
correct term is still autism spectrum
Spectrum disorder.
disorder.
Okay.
They no longer use the term Asperger, but it
No,
can
yeah.
be listed as if the parent want to. It's
Thank
just a
you.
high functioning autistic
Okay.
child.
Yeah, it's on neurodivergent.
Okay, well, I have 5 minutes left. So with it, I'm giving you 1 minute of my 5 minutes. If you could just briefly tell us, how are you coping with your son?
With coping, I decided to undergo some studying. It initially started with, having to pay for therapy and this, that, and the next. I said, why don't I go and tackle this myself? So last year I undertook my master's in exceptional student education, and I'll be finishing in the spring of next year. And it has taught me so much strategies and practices that I can implement with my son. And I'm also getting my certification in ABA therapy as well. I want to do a joint master's in school psychology so that I will be able to help him even further. Getting the school psychology just ventured out from helping him to helping more children in the Bahamas and the students in our school system. Because being a parent and having to deal with my son and his disability and the challenges that we've faced, I feel as though it is my duty to help other students out there and other children just to find some ground, some leeway into a free and an educational right that they have in the classroom. They should be able to have a free and appropriate education just as they do in the United States of America.
Absolutely.
Really, really like the detail, not just saying it for saying sake. Because we like to do that a lot here with the government. I want it to really be free and educational education for them with all the resources as well. We shouldn't have to be asking teachers, and I'm a teacher. We should not have to be asking teachers to bring things from their home or to spend their salary to provide resources in the classroom.
Alex, let me make my disclaimer on behalf of your lane life coaching. Well, it is what it is. She can only say what she experienced. But thank you so much, Alex. Any final
welcome.
words, Antoinette and Jensel?
Yes, we talked about what
Can
parents
we
should
have
do or
1
what
minute
they
each, please?
or what signs. If you have, and like Jensel said, you are the first responder, I'm going to use that term, when it comes to your child. And if you have any concern, speak to a professional before jumping to conclusions. Speak to a professional. If there is assessment is being done, every assessment will be provided with recommendations. Follow those recommendations. See what works and what doesn't work. And once you've done that, monitor what work, monitor what don't work, then talk again to your professional. Well, I noticed this didn't work. What else can I do? Be supportive of your child. Do not frustrate them. I know if you feel you're getting frustrated, parents, step back. Let somebody else deal with your child, because getting frustrated is not helping the child. It can make matters worse, because you don't want that child to take that frustration into the school and become fearful or don't want to learn. Don't use academic as a punishment. Persons say, "Oh, go sit down, go read a book," and the child's struggling. There's different things. So don't use academic as punishment. Also, be understanding of your child. Follow routines and listen to them.
Thank you, Antoinette. What? Any closing remarks, Chancellor? Or she said it all.
Well, my colleague Antoinette has said it all, but I believe that, and I've heard the saying a lot, if each one help one, we will have a better world. Also, when we look at disability as a whole, I heard the saying that I'm able today and I can be disabled today. I heard that from one lady, said that to me so many years ago, and that stuck with me. So I think that we as individuals have to treat people as if we can be disabled today.
Mhm.
And how would we want someone to treat us if we were in that predicament? Because a lot of times we just look at those physical disabilities or those mental disabilities, and we judge people.
Mhm.
But each one of us are individuals, and being individuals, we can learn, and we all learn. We all learn differently,
Mhm.
and so I believe that with that saying I said earlier,
Mhm.
if each one help one, we will have a better world.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for yes, Auntie.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on what
Why is Auntie
Jensen-
so I try to close my show. Why
I
is
just need
Auntie
to pick-
still talking?
because I need to
Go ahead.
piggyback on this. This is
Go
very
ahead.
important when Jensel made this,
Uh-huh.
because it's something in our country that we have to understand. When we talk about disabilities, it has nothing to do, most of the time, it has nothing to do with the child's cognitive ability or academic ability to perform in the classroom.
Mhm.
And we lump everybody in the
Same.
same
Shoes.
a basket, I should say. We
Mhm.
put everybody, and it's a passion of mine because I remember, like a professor said to me, a young gentleman, and then I'll leave with this.
Mhm.
A young gentleman was a student, brilliant, got involved in a car accident, and got disabled. He's now in a wheelchair. And the question that came, did anything happen to his way of thinking or his ability to perform in the classroom? And it leaves us to think, no, because if he was, unless he had a brain tumor or something that hindered
Right,
him,
right, yeah.
nothing, and it's just a physical disability, he can still sit in that classroom and still function and still obtain his aid.
I got you. Today's show is brought to you by Listerine, distributed by Lowe's Wholesale, Airborne Freight and Cargo Services, Calico Bay, where the cool kids shop, Celestial Treats, John's Shoe Store and Accessories, National Workers Cooperative Credit Union, and Family Medicine Center. We are wrapping up our topic on parenting next week, and joining me on episode 5 will be Dr. Alyssa Krim, Chief Pediatric Gastroenterologist. In Florida, we will be discussing a child's digestive health. We'll be talking about chronic constipation, Crohn's disease, encopresis, and so much more. If you want to know how to maintain a child's nutritional health, what's in these snacks would they be eating, then you want to tune in next week at 6 p.m. sharp. Anthony, you have nothing else to say, right? Antoinette, Louis, DeVoe, and Gentle Watkins, y'all have been awesome. Thank you so much. We did catch a few snips of you on live, by the way. We got you. Just want you to know. Alex, thank you so much for tuning
All
in.
right.
So
Thank
much
you for
sharing.
having me.
My guests have been wonderful. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you once again for joining me. Thank you to my listening audience. God bless you and good evening.
Wow, powerful.
That was fun. That was fun. Gentle, I'm bringing you back. Antoinette, as always.